2025 is almost over, and what a year has been for gaming. One filled with shadow drops, myths becoming reality, and a masterclass in storytelling. January featured Dynasty Warriors Origins, a game that quickly became one of Koei Tecmo's highest rated and best selling Dynasty Warrior games. Whatever formula they brewed, it became a success. I pray they build on it. Additionally, we got a surprise drop in Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, a remaster of the original game that featured upscale visuals. February featured a potential Game of the Year winner in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, a big upgrade from its predecessor in both gameplay and story. It also had one of the best speeches from a protagonist in a video game. Amy deserves all the praise. Later this month, Avowed released, which is an acquired taste. Monster Hunter Wilds offered a great introduction to those who wish to get into the series. Though it has struggled with maintaining its audience, it's pretty solid. March was amazing, as it featured games such as Split Fiction, my personal Game of the Year, AI Limit, Atomfall, and who could forget the first Berserker Kazan, one of the best action games of the year. April will be known as the month of Expedition 33, one that was almost sabotaged due to another shadow drop. Thankfully, it didn't. When you drop a game like Oblivion Remaster, which already has a fanbase right before a new IP from a studio that is hoping to generate a fanbase, you're asking for problems. Expedition 33 was amazing, a story that highlights grief by showing how different members of a family wrestle with it. The turn-based combat is familiar, but it executed differently by adding more options to defend, such as dodging, parries, and jumping certain attacks. The music is foreign to many, but the emotions behind each track are relatable. It's hard to see any other game beating this game out for Game of the Year. Let's also not forget about South of Midnight, a game that tackles empathy by putting the player in circumstances that they didn't think were possible. Also, how can you not like this song? I don't see it winning Game of the Year, but I won't be surprised if it's nominated for Best Track. Doom the Dark Ages combat stand strong and shoot through everything was a sight to behold, but that soundtrack was awful. This is what happened when you treat your previous composer like Apollo trash. There's no need for me to go through each month. Silksong is no longer a myth but a reality. Looper Team showed us what they can do on a budget by producing Chronos New Dawn, while having their A-Team work on Silent Hill F. Wu Chang, Death Stranding 2, we even got a new Switch. You know, the one y'all say y'all weren't going to buy? Don't even get me started on what's coming out next year. Like the Game Awards are sure to showcase more games coming next year and beyond. Yet a simple dismissive statement echoes throughout the gaming community. Gaming is dead. One which is used by casuals who only gaming time consists of Madden, 2K, Call of Duty, and FIFA. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with playing those games. But there's something wrong with those who only play those games and swear there's nothing else to play. Then there are those who utter those words whenever someone from a different group of people is present in their game. They offer nothing but anger-inducing garbage that used to justify their hate. Though it's important to call out such nonsense, there are issues that I would like to use a few words to address. Issues that need to be fixed in order for gaming to continue to succeed in the future. The first one is in relation to time. The unfortunate reality is that most companies are either unaware of their gaming demographic or simply don't care. And I mean specifically the age range of most gamers. One simple Google search will tell you that average gamers are between 30 and 35 years old, most of which are busy. Whether it's family, school, work, one can argue that this is a young man's hobby. To continue to gain profit, the younger audience needs to be targeted. Unfortunately, the audience that wishes to engage with the hobby don't have the time to sit in front of their TVs and monitors all day. And if they did, most wouldn't want to, especially after looking at a screen all day at work. I know I wouldn't. So instead, they keep gaming relevant in their lives by watching their favorite content creators play video games or speak on gaming news. This article shows that people spend more time watching video game content than playing it. And if they can't do that, they eventually step away from playing video games, as most would rather spend the little free time they have left in the day by sleeping more. This could be problematic in the long run, as most of the younger audience focus on live service games. Yes, there are adults who engage with them, but not as much as the younger audience. This pushes companies to continue to make live service games, as why wouldn't they? They continue to garner profit, and that's all that matters to investors. Though depressing, there's a solution to maintain the core gaming audience, especially as they get older, and it's handhelds. They're excellent. You can take them wherever and whenever, and you don't need constant internet connection to play your games. The Steam Deck is excellent for this, but with how demanding so many games are, the Steam Deck will show its age. With some fine tuning, it could be excellent for a few more years until Steam decides to release an upgraded version. I was excited to see Xbox release their console, but those prices had me checking my eyesight. Though there's a Switch, it can be very limited game-wise as you don't have access to the vast number of games Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation have. Another thing that can combat time constraints are smaller games. Take Split Fiction for example, a game that takes between 15 and 18 hours to beat. Gamers between the age of 30 and 50 years old spend about 1 to 5 hours per week on gaming sessions. This is a game that can be beaten in the span of 3 to 4 weeks, as opposed to a game like Final Fantasy Rebirth, which takes 30 to 50 hours to beat. Again, with how busy most adults are, this will take a longer time to beat. Let's also not ignore the fact that most people don't even finish their games. At least give us games that are beatable in a smaller time frame. Heck, the Senua Saga games are short. The next issue I want to tackle is in relation to the barrier to entry. Gaming has become increasingly expensive. Though we have more avenues than ever before to access games, they all come with a price. And the prices have reached an all-time high. PC gaming is about to become even more expensive. Graphic cards cost an arm and a leg. RAM, which notoriously used to be the least expensive part of making a PC, has almost tripled in price due to AI centers popping up left and right. Companies are raising prices of consoles 5 years into their generation, while also talking about their plans for the next one. These prices are only indicators of how much the next generation consoles will be. Don't be surprised if we have another PS4 situation on our hand. One where people are still holding on to their consoles 3-4 years into the next one, as they are going to ask themselves the same question: why upgrade when games will still be released on the older console? In addition to all this, video game prices are a mess. We already have $70 games, which became the new standard a few years ago. Unfortunately, there are people pushing for it to be more. Up to $100. What scares me, they'll only take one game to start this push. It will be a game where people will champion and justify such price. I won't be surprised if it's GTA 6. The combination of all these prices can drive away current gamers and potentially new gamers. When people have less disposable income, it's no brainer that a video game is not as important as a week worth of groceries. My solution to this is lower the prices. Easier said than done, unfortunately. Instead of asking for it, we need to act on it. We need to be more selective about what we buy and where we buy it from. Be a better consumer. The final issue I want to tackle is our lack of love and support for artists. If you were to ask any game developer who works on any annual release, such as Call of Duty, if they like to make this type of game, 9 times out of 10 the answer will be no. Allowing game developers to express themselves by allowing them to create the art they want is important. This is what happened with Expedition 33 and Dispatch. Both games were created by former Ubisoft developers. To have such talent in your lineup and squander it is pathetic. It's as if they knew about their talent but refused to allow it to bloom. Think about where Ubisoft would be today if both games were published by them. Amir Rowe and Gavin Simmons used to work at EA. Now they're the publisher for 2 successful video games in Hades 1 and 2, both which have been nominated for Game of the Year. There's no denying that part of being a game developer is getting your ideas rejected. Sometimes the rejection is valid, and you need to go back to the drawing board. Other times it's greed. When games like Madden bring in millions of dollars not just in sales but microtransactions, why entertain an idea like Hades? It's depressing to know that there's so much talent that will remain dormant because investors can't look past dollar signs. The best thing we can do is hope that these studios get out of their head and start entertaining more ideas. And if developers leave and decide to start their own company, it's up to us to support them. The future of gaming has a lot of potential, but some things might set it back with no guarantee for recovery. Let's all do our part in supporting it. I'm all out of words, so until next time, thanks for watching.